I guess you can blow through the middle. Now here's a precaution. If you leave it too far in before pulling it back past the ridge on the other side, it's going to get stuck. And my previous attempt at this, my actual working valve, it did that. It was frozen in place. There's no way to get the core out of the thing, which is fine. I just machined the whole thing inside there. But this second time around, I want this thing to be disassemblable so that we can clean it, we can machine it, you know, we can do everything we need to. So it's feeling pretty good right now. Like I say, we're just going to keep turning it and moving it in and out. And I believe as it cools, it'll probably shrink a little bit and fit a little bit looser. But we can hope. Yeah, rotate the other way too, in both directions. The thing is that the more you work it and keep turning it in exactly the same direction, the straighter your shaft is going to be, and that's going to be important. It's what's important is consistency. Okay, this is feeling pretty good now. So the lessons are, you don't dawdle, you just shove the thing in there, and when it gets stuck in the middle, you got to be ready to poke it with your thumb to get it to feed through to the other side, and don't let it sit on the other side too long. Okay, now it is cool to the extent that it's gotten hard. And now I'm going to rinse it off, which hardens it up more. I'm losing my lubricant right now. It sounds kind of X-rated. Don't mean for it to be. And there it is. This is what it looks like. See how it's tapered? That taper fits that bore perfectly. There you go. And it's a good seal. Alright, welcome to my garage. Wish I had a proper workshop, but I recently moved, so I don't. So what I've done here is I have positioned this this tube close to the end. You see that ridge there? I want to be a little bit past that, because you see the bore of that side opening comes pretty close to that. I want to be comfortably past that. So I want maybe, you know, maybe a ½ an inch, you know, centimeter and quarter, between the end of the fitting and the end of the tube. And so anyway, that's about where I position it. And then I put an alignment mark here also so that I can see if I have the tube turned the same way. That's going to be important because I'm going to put a hole in this and a hole in this, and I want them to line up. So, alright, let me switch off. So now it's time to drill my hole. Now let me explain how this is going to go. See, I put an arrow in the shaft. That is the direction the shaft needs to turn inside the fitting. And the reason for that is that I'm going to put a little bolt through the end of this end cap, which is used to drive the whole assembly. And so if you turn the whole thing in that direction, it will tighten up on the bolt and keep you know, keep the tightness and the friction going. If you turn it in the other direction, then the bolt comes unscrewed. So anyway, it needs to turn in this direction. Okay, that's the first thing to note. The second thing to note is if you look inside here, this airspace goes all the way to halfway on the side of the fitting. or halfway on the bore of the tube, like right here. All right, I'm going to put a hole just past here. Now on the prototype that I showed you before, I had a hole on the other side. So if you imagine this thing rotating, what that did is when the hole passes, passes this position, it's blowing air into your lungs. Okay, and then the thing keeps turning until you get to the other side, and it all exhales. Well, that's not naturally how we breathe. We tend to breathe in and out, and then we pause, and then we breathe in and out, and then we pause. So this time, instead of putting the hole directly on the other side, I'm going to put it a little bit at an angle, but I don't want the edge of the hole to extend beyond this halfway point on the barrel, or else it'll be leaking directly from here. Make sense? So I'm gonna mark a position now on the side of the barrel that will do that. So give me a second. All right, so this is there. That is the midway mark, and I just came off just a little bit. I'm gonna drill my hole with this countersink bit, and the reason for that is it doesn't drill the hole too aggressively. It doesn't grab the vinyl as it's making its last passage through, and you don't risk breaking anything or ripping the vinyl, and that's kind of important. So anyway, I drew pencil lines, basically the width of that, and I drew a line in the middle. That is where I'm going to put the center of my hole. Now I'm going to make a pilot hole with a kind of smallish drill bit, and then I'll auger it out with this thing. Okay, now I've got all my alignment marks lined up here, there, and I'm going to take a 1/4 inch drill bit and going to put a hole right there on the center mark, and it would help if I actually add power to my drill. There. Power to the people, baby. Okay, here we go. And it'd help if that weren't in the way. You don't want to drill too fast because it is basically plastic, so it'll melt. Okay, so I drilled my hole all the way through the fitting and the inner barrel. And next, I'm going to change to my little countersink tool. It has a, I guess it's exactly a 1/2 inch diameter. And then I'm going to work my way through again. Again, don't want it to get too hot. There we go. Looks a little messy, but we'll clean it up. I'm going to use a razor knife for that. And here we go. It's all cleaned up now. I know that looks kind of brown and ugly, but it doesn't matter. You can trim that off if you want. I'm not going to bother. It doesn't matter. But anyway, lines up perfectly, turns easily. and you can pull it apart to, you know, do the cleaning. You certainly don't want to inhale any little chips of plastic, so be sure and get all the shavings off, and you can wash the thing when you're done. Okay, now just a little bit about how this works. This inlet is going to be for the pressurized air from the CPAP machine. Okay, every time this hole comes past, it's going to blow air into the inside of this tube, and then coming out here is the tube that goes to the mask. On the other end, this is what we're mechanically going to turn, and it's sealed because of the cap. Okay, so it's just air in, air out. But the thing is, when you pressurize the mask and you have a lung full of air, it's not going to release the air until you actually inhale a little bit or you depressurize the hose. And that's what this hole is for. So as this turns around and it meets that hole, then the air from the hose going to the mask can bleed out through there. That breaks the pressure, and then there's a little silicone rubber valve, a teeny tiny one, in the mask itself, and that will swing open, and then the rest of your breath can come out from the mask directly. So anyway, that's how that works. So it's inhale, exhale, and then you really are able to continue exhaling from the mask while this continues to rotate around, and then you go to another inhale cycle. And now this is where you guys are going to have to get a little bit creative. Okay, this is the one I made previously, and as you can see, I screwed the fittings together. I just put a hole through this T-joint and then through the adapter that was underneath in order to put it together. And the reason I used a screw instead of PVC cement is because I wanted to be able to disassemble it for cleaning or modification or whatever. And so I would, even if I knew the final form it was going to take, I would do the same thing. And so that's what I advise you to do. You notice I have two different kinds of fittings here. Please ignore that. They can both be the same kind of fitting. I recommend this. There's a you can use a 3/4 inch PVC adapter to I believe it's a 1/2 inch national pipe thread, and that goes to a 1/2 inch barb, and you are able to slip the hose on that. Now I just dug around in what I had, so I didn't have two of these, but I had a few of these. This is a drip irrigation barb, so I used that, and it doesn't work as well, but it works well enough. So what I did was I cut the hose. This is a heated hose, all right? So y'all probably have similar heated hoses. I cut in between the wiring. I just cut the clear plastic, and then it untwisted like this. And I unraveled a certain length of it, and I basically kept all the electric intact. So this remains a heated hose. And then I inserted one hose onto this barb, one hose onto this barb, both of them inserted in there and attached with screws.